Got it. Why don't you go ahead now, do your ICANN presentation, so I'll have this context.
This is Cheely with the Department of Finance. We're going to give you a brief overview in terms of why we're taking a look at this item. Last September, the Commission on State Mandates approved a statewide cost estimate of $90.4 million for ICANN-related costs between the period of 1999 to 2013. Most recently, the SEO also disallowed $31.3 million, bringing the latest estimate to stand at $59.1. The governor's budget assumes the suspension of the ICANN mandate and proposes $4 million general fund for an optional grant program to fund the ongoing county share of costs. Absent the suspension of this mandate, the state is required to fund all claims between this period as well as the ongoing costs. The $4 million figure is based on the claims currently received by the State Controller's Office. Claims can continue to be filed until July 15th of this year. We're continuing to monitor and evaluate the appropriate level of funding needed for ICANN activities for county welfare agencies as we move forward through the budget process.
Thank you. Senator Monty, any questions? Is there anyone from the counties in the public that's going to talk about the issue around ICANN? Yes, thank you.
Ed Behrens, on behalf of the County of Los Angeles, in opposition to the governor's proposal. We would question the sufficiency of the $4 million optional program, and we would note the safety concerns that raised by LAO.
Got it.
And on top of that, there's a substantial amount of money owed the county in terms of reimbursement for prior services in the ICANN area.
Got it. Okay. All right, let's open it up to general public comment on both items.
Hi, Tia Orr on behalf of the Service Employees International Union. I'm here in strong support of the first item, which was implementation of AB 1978. This was a very crucial item for our social workers that we worked in strong partnership with the department on. They're very excited and looking forward to a dedicated staff person that's there to answer their calls about complaints of different things that are going on in the county. So again, this partnership has been great, and this position is crucial to making it actually come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you.
At Howard Children's Advocacy Institute, we were pleased to co-sponsor the Joan Sawyer bill along with SEIU. This is an important bill. Social workers should have an opportunity to be able to blow the whistle on practices and policies that may prove potentially lethal and dangerous to children. We very much look forward to this life-saving program being implemented, and thank the department for moving so quickly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, and we're going to hold both items open. You'll note the staff comment on page 28 of the agenda with regard to clearly the very complicated issue around the ICANN program. So we'll hold that open for further discussion in keeping with the LAO's recommendation as well. Thank you. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda, the proposals for investment. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I skipped it. I'm sorry. Number 3. Number 6, BCP number 83, implementing child victims of human trafficking, page 29 of the agenda.
Right. Greg Rose again for the department. This request is for 2 associate governmental program analysts and a total of $232,000 to provide infrastructure for the state's work at implementing the CSEC program as defined by SB 855 and to implement the Preventing Sex Trafficking and Strengthening Families Act that was passed at the federal law. I think we had sufficient discussion about what that looked like in Mr. Javenka's overview of in the beginning of the agenda. I would just say that these positions are crucial to continue to work with our training infrastructure, our county partners, the CSEC task force of the Child Welfare Council, and a whole host of others to better refine the services and supports that victims of child trafficking need. And so for that, we would ask your support for that.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Senator Monty? Finance, LAO. Any public comment on this BCP with regard to victims of human trafficking? Seeing none, it's the recommendation that this item be held open. Thank you very much for your attendance today. We'll move on to proposals for investment. And these are the proposals we've received from advocates, et cetera. We'll start very quickly with 7A, Bringing Families Home. And we've got two panelists. Mr. Botters, why don't you begin? Housing California.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of myself on Housing California and Sharon Report and the Corporation for Supportive Housing, we have a joint request to fund $10 million to a pilot program that would be matched dollar for dollar by counties. My colleague here will explain the program in a little more detail. Basically, the program attempts to address housing instability for families in the foster care system in particular. 23,000 people in California who are homeless have interaction with the child welfare system on a given night. In California, about 4,000 families have an interaction based on national estimations here in California with foster care, 23,000 people in households who are homeless on a given night. And what we are trying to deal with here is something that's an unmet need currently in the child welfare system. So the way we've siloed funding to the child welfare system does not provide remedies for housing needs. And although housing is not a basis to remove a child, we have the abuse and neglect standard CPS uses. A child that is removed during the foster care process can be denied reunification with the biological parent if there is no safe and stable place to return that child to. And so even if a bio parent has a situation where they go through a court-ordered process to alleviate underlying conditions that rose to the level of the intervention, the household may not be reunified. And so what this pilot program would attempt to do is to provide some supports to create a platform for that child to be reunified to a parent who might otherwise be eligible to have that reunification take place. I'm going to stop there because it's been a long day, and I'm going to let my partner take questions.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you. Sharon Report with the Corporation for Supportive Housing. Under Bringing Families Home, the Department of Social Services would select counties to participate in the grant program. Though both, as Mr. Bowders mentioned, both the child welfare system and the homeless systems intersect, they're not aligned in addressing the challenges the families face. So some of the funding would go toward funding county positions for liaison to break down the silos between these two systems. The bulk of the funding, though, would go for housing interventions. Counties currently are developing or already have in place systems to assess a family's housing needs if they're homeless. And the bulk of the funding would go for getting the right housing interventions for these families. It would fund things like housing location assistance, services that promote housing stability, and rental subsidies for 3 months to 5 years, depending on the needs of the families. Counties would match the funding dollar for dollar, so they would be leveraging local and federal funding for this program, and we estimate that this funding, this $10 million combined with the local funding, would serve between 400 and 600 families. We know based on evidence that getting these families into housing not only ends their episodes of homelessness, but also prevents foster care placement and reunifies families more quickly, and that there are fewer incidents of recurrence of maltreatment or the problems that led to foster care placement. They also promote employment and educational opportunities, as well as health stability. So we ask for your support for this budget item. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to make a suggestion to the folks who are queued up already. I'd like to take public comment on all 4 of these proposals for investment, because I bet there's some people who want to speak to more than one. So as you queue up, we're going to go through all the panels, and then we'll go through public comment one time, and you can say all the wonderful things about why you support these concepts, okay? Let's do that. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to 7B, Relative and Foster Parent Recruitment, Retention, and Support. Ms. Cox from the Alameda County Social Services Agency.
Good afternoon.
It's
been a long
morning,
day.
it's long gone, yes.
I'm Lori Cox. I'm the director of the Alameda County Social Services Agency. I want to say that before my appointment to director in 2011, I also worked in our child welfare division for over 16 years. And in fact, the last 8 years, I was responsible for the placement of children into foster care and relative care. So I feel very strongly about this proposal. I'm also here testifying on behalf of the County Welfare Directors Association.
Great.
We're asking for your support of a solid investment in our local relatives and foster parents so that we can effectively support, retain, and recruit this most vital resource for children who are brought under the care and protection of the foster care system. First, I would like to say on behalf of my county child welfare colleagues that we appreciate the administration's proposed $2.8 million increase for foster parent recruitment, retention, and support. We agree an investment in our home-based foster caregivers is absolutely needed to reduce the use of group homes and improve outcomes for children. It's also important to note that the vital reform efforts, including continuum of care reform and the KDA settlement agreement, depend on our ability to recruit and retain high-quality foster homes, as you've heard quite a bit about today. We therefore are asking for your support of CWDA's request for $30 million. Now, counties have cobbled together some funding to try to recruit and retain foster parents, but it's clear that what we're doing just isn't enough. In Alameda County, we had 215 foster homes in 2013 available to take children. In 2015, this number fell to 168 foster families. In Los Angeles County, they had 6,500 foster homes available in 2007. They now only have 3,700 foster homes available. So as you can see, we're steadily losing our foster families. It's true that we've also reduced our overall caseload. As a Title IV waiver county, Alameda has been able to divert many of our families from the system through prevention services. But the children we have to assume jurisdiction for still face unprecedented challenges. For example, Alameda County and the Oakland area is among the top 3 areas in the nation for child sex trafficking, a population we're now serving. Alameda County has also been able to offer some respite care for foster parents, especially needed when caring for children with high behavioral and medical needs. We've also been able to offer child care to some of our foster families who need to work outside of the home. And it's simply not enough for our foster families that we have now, and it's not going to be for the foster families we need to recruit to meet the CCR's goals. We still struggle to keep foster children in our county and out of group homes. Some foster families we lose for the obvious good reasons. They either take guardianship or they adopt, but many of them simply burn out from lack of support. This has resulted in a dire situation for children. We're forced to separate siblings, as you've heard some of the witnesses say today. Children bounce from placement to placement, becoming even more traumatized, which can lead to group home placement after other options have been exhausted. With the CCR's focus on reducing the use of group homes, it's absolutely necessary to have an adequate supply of high-quality, loving foster parents who are willing and able to open their homes and their hearts to traumatized children in our care. The $30 million in requested funding will enable counties to recruit and support foster parents and relatives to care for our most vulnerable children. We will recruit through radio and television, as well as resource and recruitment events throughout the community. But support of new and current foster parents is most critical, as well as the support we need to provide to our relatives. These funds can help defray costs of foster children who want to participate in activities with their peers, such as sports and arts, all activities which reduce trauma and help children lead normal lives. This proposal will especially help us keep children with their extended families through more intensive search, engagement, and other support that's needed. Relative caregivers continue to be our most valuable resource. They step in on a moment's notice to assume a tremendous responsibility, and they do so with very little preparation. And they're more likely to care for siblings, and they're more likely to become permanent family. We want to applaud the legislature and the administration's recent passage of the approved relative caregiver program, which Alameda County has opted into. But we know that relatives need more than financial support. They need in-home support. They need training to prevent their foster children from failing up into a higher level of care, such as group homes. We hear directly from our caregivers every day that more support and better training are key areas of need. The funding that has been requested by CWDA is a much-needed investment that will reduce costs in the long run, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So we're at 10 million and 30 million. You got that, Senator Monty? Just open up your checkbook there. Support to children and families provided by foster family agency social workers.
Madam Chair. There I am. Madam Chair, Carol Schroeder with the California Alliance of Child and Family Services. We have a very simple request. We're here as part of a unique coalition making that request. Please allocate $18.9 million general fund to increase the social work component of the foster family agency rate so we can raise the funded hourly wage for a FFA social worker from $15 to $24.47 an hour. That's it, and this is why we're asking. I was honored to spend over 2 years with our partners that I'm here with today participating in the continuum of care reform process. And let's be clear, you've heard it already today, but the success of CCR is dependent upon an unprecedented effort to retain, identify, and recruit home-based family caregivers. That's why the Alliance is also in strong support of CWDA's request for additional funding for that effort. Retention of caregivers is dependent upon the provision of ongoing support and services as part of a team so that those folks don't feel isolated and alone. Foster family agencies have been supporting home-based family placements for 30 years. We know how to support children in foster care, and we know how to support the families who care for them. Put simply, without the expertise and experience of FFAs and in supporting home-based family care, CCR can't succeed. That's why CCR would expand the roles of FFAs to provide support and services, not just to our own certified foster families, but at county request to caregivers, non-related extended family members, and county licensed foster families, and that's why we're here today. But FFA social work services have reached a crisis point. The amount built into the current FFA rate for social work has been frozen since 2001 and was cut an additional 10% in 2009, leaving an astonishing 64% shortfall. The rate now supports a wage of just $15.13 an hour at a time when San Francisco is raising its minimum wage to $15 an hour. Many social workers simply can't afford to work for FFAs, and tragically qualified social workers are leaving FFAs at an alarming rate. When foster parents lose the support of that trusted person that's there for them 24/7, they're much more likely to give up fostering, like the 40% of foster parents nationally who withdraw during their first year and the additional 20% who say they want out. In his January budget proposal, the governor allocated $4.2 million general fund to bolster the social work capacity of foster family agencies. And while that's a step in the right direction and we appreciate it greatly, it's just not enough. By allocating the $18.9 million we've requested, this committee can increase the amount built into the rate for social work wages to a level that will provide the bridge that lets us get to the new rate system under CCR.
Thank you very much. That brings us to 58.9 million, Senator Monty. 7D, THP Plus for non-minor dependents aging out of care and homeless youth. Ms. Tran from the John Burton Foundation.
Thank you, Chair Mitchell and members of the committee. I'm here today on behalf of a statewide coalition of 70 private and public agencies to request $30 million in budget augmentation to the Transitional Housing Placement Plus program. THP Plus was established by the legislature in 2001 and provides 24 months of safe, affordable housing and supportive services to youth ages 18 to 24 who are in care on their 18th birthday. Since THP Plus was established, California has made significant progress in addressing the needs of transition-age foster youth, both increasing the state investment in THP Plus and in 2010 passing legislation extending care to age 21. These changes have improved the lives of tens of thousands of young people. Yet many continue to fall through the cracks. These include homeless youth and youth aging out of care who continue to need support, namely parenting youth and youth with disabilities. According to HUD's 2014 point-in-time homeless count, 14,000 young people, 18 to 24, are homeless in California. In the child welfare field, we often think of homeless youth as different from former foster youth. Yet in our work, in the field, and in studies, we know that like foster youth, many homeless youth were abused and neglected. We're talking about youth who simply were kicked out or ran away before the system ever got involved. One study of sheltered homeless youth found that 75% had experienced some form of maltreatment. And similar to foster youth, LGBT youth are overrepresented, with up to 40% becoming homeless after their parents reject them for their sexual orientation. Despite the significant need, there are only 490 beds of transitional housing statewide, with waiting lists that often are 6 months to a year. Under the current proposal, half of the augmentation would be used to provide THP plus to homeless youth. The issue for youth transitioning from foster care is equally serious. This year, we'll have 2,200 foster youth aging out at age 21. While many will transition to economic stability, 1 in 4 are disabled or custodial parents and will continue to face challenges. For parenting youth, THP Plus isn't just a lifeline for them, but also for their child. The proposed augmentation would assist 1,100 youth annually, and all 3 outcome evaluations of the program since 2007 have found that between entry and exit, participants make significant progress in education, health, criminal justice, and economic security, and a full 94% exit into safe, stable housing. Thank you for your consideration. And in augmenting the budget for this very effective program, our state will continue to advance its tradition of ensuring a bright future for our most vulnerable transition-age youth.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tran, and to all of you for bringing really critical, smart investments to the tune of $88.9 million, I might add. But thank you very much for bringing the proposals forward. We wanted to structure the sub-3 agenda this year a little differently and invite and ask for the applicant proposals to happen throughout the course of our hearing schedule as opposed to at the end of the budget session. I am in possession of additional letters of support on these proposals from the County of LA, John Burton Foundation, Housing California, and the Source for Housing Solutions, a huge coalition with regard to THP Plus, Asperia, Bill Wilson Center, California Alliance, California Coalition for Youth, CYC, Environmental Alternatives, Home Start, a whole second page of additional organizations, plus a list of a number of agency heads. And so I'm assuming that some of you in line, we are in receipt of your letter. With the hour of 4 having arrived, I'd ask you to feel free to say me too in your support. We see you're here, you've been here all day, we've got your letters, we get it. 30 seconds each, please.